What is going on, everybody? We are live, live, live. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are just getting ready to do our weekly live stream with Quinn from Man of Medim. Waiting for him to hop on and send us the invitation to dual stream, and then we'll get started with tonight's topics. For those of you who aren't familiar, I go live with a fellow ceremonial magician, a fellow Solomonic occultist, Quinn from Man of Medim. Every Tuesday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we go live for about hour and a half, 2 hours, and we have a pretty lively discussion on various occult topics. And then we usually end it off with doing a Q&A for the audience. So if you have an interest in occultism, esotericism, mysticism, anything like that, stick around. In about 7-8 minutes, he should be sending me an invite. So we should be able to go live together. And we'll be doing the dual stream. So welcome, everybody. Glad to have you all here. Glad to be back after the week-long ban, although I was able to go live on my backup account. So I didn't really miss a beat or anything like that. And surprisingly, my backup account, which has 13 times less followers than I have on here, got up to like my regular viewership for a live stream. So I was actually surprised. I was thinking it was only going to be like 6 people, but it turned out to be like 60 people. So that was actually really, really good. Hey, I'm Christian. I come in peace to learn about other spirituality and people in general. Well, welcome. Welcome. What's your name? Trey 2K Games. Glad to have you here, brother. Glad to have you here. Good evening. Hey, what's going on, Reverend? Welcome, welcome. We're just waiting for Quinn from Man of Medim. Should be about 6 minutes. He should be sending me the invite, and then we'll be going live. We'll be doing our weekly discussion. Maybe I should put it up right now. Yeah, maybe I should put this up right now, so that way it's ready. It's ready when he gets in here. Get rid of those. All right. Your skin is so clear. Oh my God, you're the secrets. I just wash my face. That's all. I don't put anything on it or do anything like that. I just scrub my face every day. Every time I'm in the shower, I just scrub my face. I use charcoal body wash. Different brands. I don't, I like to try different brands, but as long as there's charcoal in it, and rub that all over my face. I don't know. But thank you very much. What is an occultist? An occultist is someone who practices the occult, essentially. Someone who studies and practices the occult. Now, what is the occult, I guess, is a better term or a better question. The occult is a collection of different hidden or suppressed spiritual paths, most of which deal with magic in some kind of way. So whether that's witchcraft, whether that's voodoo, whether that's Tao of the Left, whether that's an ATR or an ADR, whether it's chaos magic or tradcraft or high ceremonialism or something along those lines. Most of them deal with something along those lines. If it doesn't deal with anything in the magical realm, it'll deal with something in the esoteric realm or the mystical realm. So an occultist is someone who practices one of those. I mean, I guess if you only practice one, technically you can call yourself an occultist, but most people who call themselves occultists practice multiple systems, and rather than rattle off every single system that they practice and all the terms that they go by, it's just better to use the catch-all occultist. So it's a beautiful day to hear you all discuss. Well, thank you, Reverend. Thank you, brother. Have you seen the video from the strongest witch in North America yet? Do you mean, what's her name? I think we were talking about her in the Discord. Hold on. It's a female, right? Where is the new age nonsense? Why don't I know how my own Discord set up? Okay, here we go. Okay. gotta scroll up a lot here. Okay, here we go. Mommy Onami. Is that who you're talking about? Mommy Onami. And we should be getting an invite from Quinn in about 3 minutes. If that's who you're talking about, yes, I actually follow her, or her and him, them, because I know her husband, boyfriend, significant other is behind the camera asking the questions. I just haven't gotten around to debunking any of their stuff. I've been focusing on the explicitly new age or the explicit paranormal stuff. But if that's who you're talking about, Mommy Onami, then yes, we were talking about her in the Discord. Can you summon the devil for us? No. No, I cannot. How are you this evening? I'm doing well, Dylan. How are you? Astral projection? What about it? What about astral projection, Galactic Overlord? Magic isn't real. Well, I'm sorry you feel that way, Upstate Rick. I would urge you to take the scientific approach to it and find out how to do it. Conduct the experiment yourself. Record your results. Compare those results to other people who've done it. This is known as peer review. And go from there instead of just making up your mind, right? I don't think a scientist just went, "Oh, atoms must be real. I just made up my mind." I think they did experiments to figure this out. So I think you should do some experiments to figure it out. But either way, you are welcome here. Bring a demon forth with a spell, please. We want to see. Who said that that's how magic works? So you try to make fun of me, but you think that magic works like it does on Doctor Strange. You think that magic works like it does on Sabrina. You think magic works like it does on Supernatural, but you want to make fun of me. I think that's more laughable, that you think that I'm going to sit here and just say some fancy Latin words and the ground opens up and demons come out of the ground. I think that's more ridiculous than simply trying to elevate one's soul, which is the actual purpose of magic. So why don't you take your jokes, regroup, and try again. We'll still be here. I'll let you regroup and try again. And then I'll respond to anything else that you have to say. But regroup, reset, and try it all over again. And maybe you'll get somewhere. Why did you decide to join the occult? I don't think there's like a definitive, reason. Like I hated Christianity or anything along those lines. I grew up Baptist Christian. But I was indoctrinated to believe that certain beliefs, do certain things without talking to the people of those beliefs, right? It's kind of like, if you're having a heart issue, you wouldn't go to your car mechanic, you go to a heart doctor. And if you're having car problems, you're not going to go to your heart doctor, you're going to go to a mechanic. So if you have questions about any other religion other than Christianity, why are you going to a Christian? And there he is, Man of Medim. We can't. Oh, there he is. What's up, brother?
Not much. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Let me enlarge me. There we go. So that way they can still see the questions. I'm doing well, brother. I was just answering some questions here in the chat. I hope you had a good day.
Yeah, man. Just in between jobs gets a little boring. So, but
Yeah.
everything's great. How about your day?
Um, my day was pretty interesting. A lot going on at work. We're trying to launch this new scholarship sweepstakes, and we got all the way to the finish line after months of getting the ad approved by legal and our compliance departments and going through all this red tape that corporate America loves to put on things. We get to the finish line, and when the authoring team sent it to me because I'm the last line, nothing goes out without me saying so. So they sent it to me and they're like, all right, it's ready for you to review. Here it is. And it was not anything that we just worked on the last. And I was like, guys, look at this and then look at what I sent you in an email. Like, these are not the same thing. Oh, well, we don't know how that happened. You're the authoring team. What are you saying? So yeah, it was. I spent all day trying to put that fire out, which is not a big deal. It's just corporate America nonsense. But in the moment, it seems like it's a big deal. But yeah, other than that, it was a pretty good day. Other than that nonsense.
Oh yeah. I just been trying to pack up as much as possible. Again, got about 2 weeks. It's just going by so slow. Yeah, not doing much, man.
That's cool, bro. So in 2 weeks is when you're moving?
Yeah, the 28th, yeah, is the day we we drive out there with the truck and everything.
Awesome, dude. Awesome, man. Well, good luck with the move, man.
Yeah, thanks, man.
No problem. All right. So let me just go ahead and introduce the evening for those who aren't familiar. So what we're going to be doing tonight, guys, every Tuesday, myself and Quinn from Man of Medine, we go live every Tuesday, 9 p.m. to 10:30, 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, depending on how the conversation is going. We discuss various occult topics, and we'll kind of bounce ideas off of each other. Sort of explain whatever the topic is to the audience essentially. It's usually a fantastic discussion. There's a lot to be learned from both myself and Quinn. It's always good to have multiple um, uh, takes on something, especially within the occult, because not everybody practices everything the exact same way. So that's what we do every Tuesday, 9 p.m. to 10:30, 11 p.m. ish. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Tonight we have three questions, or I always say questions, but three topics, I should say. And they're in no real particular order, but I guess I'll start with probably number four, which is a question, or which is something that I get a lot on my channel. I don't know about you, Quinn, but how important is Aleister Crowley to modern day occultism? And I'll let you answer that first before I chime in. So, how important is Crowley? Crowley, the OTO, the Lema, the rituals that he, gave. How important is Crowley to the modern day lexicon of occultism?
Um, I have a pretty jaded approach when it comes to Crowley. When I was younger, I got him tattooed on my calf, so I'll forever have Crowley's face on me. Uh, you know, when it comes to modern magic, he for sure contributed a fair amount of work. Not, it's not like one of those things where it's like a cornerstone in magic. It's not one of those like recommended readings on my list.
Hmm.
But if you're looking to get into modern magic, like lodge magic, you're usually going to go like the Golden Dawn route or the Crowley Thelemic OTO route. Uh, I can't lie that he was, his material was probably the most serious material you can get on magic if you were a 11-year-old kid going into Barnes and Nobles. You know what I mean? So I remember going to Barnes and Nobles and mostly seeing stuff on astrology and tarot and meditation. Then of course your LaVeyan Satanic Bible, your Necronomicon, and then your Crowley Diary of a Drug Fiend and
Uh-huh.
777. And those were always on the shelf. And of course, since he was such a prominent figure in pop culture, it was kind of like a really easy in into like the world of the occult. So a few of my books, my first books were like, neo-pagan here and there, I had I had some like some Wiccan Book of Shadows and so forth. But I remember when I never got any of Crowley's material, but doing a little bit of research on him, I found out that he came from Golden Dawn, and then that's what got me interested in not just Golden Dawn, but ceremonial magic. So without him being as popular as he was, there's a good chance that I wouldn't have been introduced to the path that led me here. Um, so he was important to my introduction into my early days of trying to figure out where I was going with this with this path. But when it comes to the magic that I practice today, there's not even when I was doing lodge magic, it's all like, it was all Golden Dawn format, and so there there's nothing that you could see within my practice that I had adopted or assimilated from Crowley's work, other than maybe his adorations, which he would do, 4 times throughout the day. The temple that I was part of, we adopted that. We had many different types of adorations, but Crowley was one of them that was actually really cool, and I used that when I was neophyte, Zelator, and so forth. But nowadays there's not really anything that you can attribute to him that within my practice. So it's kind of a mixed answer right there. Even though I'd love to say he's not that important, I I can't I can't bring myself to lie to myself and say that I know that he was fundamental in my introduction, and to a lot of people in lodge magic today. People that practice the lema, that practice that are in OTO lodges. Some of them take it a little far, but he did a lot for yoga in the West. He you know he helped introduce a lot of ceremonial magic to the West, because if I mean honestly, if it weren't for him, I mean, there's a good, for him and Regardie, you know what I mean? They were prominent figures in, introducing lodge ceremonial magic to Europe and America. So without them, and of course Crowley and Regardie have a relationship as well. So without them, it would look much different.
Yeah.
It's his Goetia is a joke. Um, it's, and not that it's like, because obviously it's pretty much a copy of Mather's translation. So, it's pretty much Mather's translation, but he added his own. He added the headless rite. He had his own little introduction into it. But there's a lot of things he confused about it, because it wasn't an actual it wasn't there wasn't any teamwork between him and Mathers on him putting it out. He just put it out there. So when it comes to, like, if you even read Joseph H. Peterson's footnotes on Crowley's Goetia, like Crowley talks about, oh yeah, this was translated from ancient languages of Hebrew and Greek and Latin and so forth, and then Joseph H. Peterson was like, no, like the manuscripts that Mathers was working with when it came to Lemageddon were all English.
Yeah.
So just the type of stuff that he would come up with, he would embellish so many things. So it's, I don't want to go into too much about like why he was not the greatest person, but I'll just leave it at that. Like, he has his place in occult history for sure.
Yeah, yeah. I think my sentiments are similar to yours. I get this question a lot on my live streams. People always come in and go, "How do you feel about Crowley? How do you feel about Crowley? How do you feel about Crowley?" And to be perfectly honest, I don't understand the pedestal that people outside of the occult put on Crowley, because unless you are in a Thelemic community or some OTO community or something like that, Crowley is not really discussed in the overall occult sphere. We might discuss, like, you might be reading a book or something like that, or you might take a course or something, and, the instructor or the author might reference a ritual that Crowley might have popularized or something like that. But outside of that, like outside of a quick little reference, oh yeah, Crowley also used this ritual back in, 1902 or something like that, whatever. He's not discussed at length. Again, unless you're in a community of Thelemites or OTO members or Crowleyanity, as they call it, and all this other stuff. I recognize the contributions that Crowley made to the. I mean, he gave us the Lema, a full-fledged religion. He started the OTO, but I mean that was kind of after he was kicked out of the Golden Dawn. So that was kind of like, well, if I can't do it, then if I'll just make my own. But I don't think that he deserves the lauding that he gets from people outside of the occult. It's almost as if people outside of the occult don't like it's almost like they think that it started with Crowley. Like before Crowley there was no magic, right? It started with Crowley. And I feel like there are way more people, far more deserving people, both dead and alive, both contemporary and classical, that deserve far more credit than Crowley gets. Again, he made a lot of contributions. He popularized a lot of rituals that we probably wouldn't know as well as we do. But I don't see the fascination with Crowley or anything like that. Yeah, I don't get it. But I won't say he's not important, but I'll say he doesn't deserve all of the accolades and the lauding that he gets from those outside of the occult or on the fringes of the occult. Like whenever I listen to a occult conspiracy podcast, because I'm trying to find one to like debunk or whatever, if they do, they rarely do ever name any actual historical occultists, right? But if they do, it's always three. It's always the same three people. Like these are the trinity of the occult. It's Blavatsky, Bailey, and Crowley. Sometimes Manly P. Hall will be added in there, but he doesn't really come in to the conversation from a conspiracy perspective until they start talking about the Masons and all that. So whenever I listen to these videos about how like Crowley, like it all goes back to Crowley, it all goes back to Crowley. It's like these, it's I don't know. He gets too much credit, and it's not. I don't understand why. I don't understand why. Unless it has something to do with his public persona, how he would always go around. Like if he existed today, if Crowley existed today, he'd be the Kanye West of the occult. He would just say whatever wild, crazy things, and some people would be with it, and some people wouldn't be with it. But the media would blow, just like they did back then. They would blow it up. Oh, he's the great B666. Who is this guy? Well, like the whore of Babylon. What So maybe that's why. Maybe because he was a rebel and he to the media, fuck you to the establishment and all that. Maybe, but outside of that, I don't get the credit that Crowley gets when I think that there are far more deserving people that are alive right now that deserve way more credit than Crowley. So
Yeah,
I don't think
yeah.
he's not important, but I don't think that I don't even think he's in the top 10. I don't think he's in the top 20. I'm sorry. I think there are far people or far more deserving people out there than Crowley.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. Especially when you start to consider, people like Trithemius and Agrippa and so forth.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's honestly it's his public persona, that really just captures the eyes of people and entices them. And if you catch someone young enough and they're impressionable enough, you could create a dogma within that,
yeah,
and that they will become attached to that. It's funny. I think what helped out for me, like not get attached to that, is like it was when we were learning about like historical, like the figures within the early Golden Dawn. Um, there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of megalomania. There was a lot of like ego that was going
I'm
on,
sure.
a lot of problems. So you start to see that these people who you would want to revere as idols are human just like us, and they all have a lot of problems. And especially the bigger names. Mathers wasn't free from any bullshit. That dude was off his rocker for sure. If you know, not as infamously as Crowley, but he was there. He wasn't all himself towards the end.
Yeah.
Um, but he did attribute a lot. But anyways, you start to see that all these people that are supposed to that would be your idols, that they, all have their problems, and they all did just as much bad as they did good, if not more. You know, so you learn not to kind of like make these people your masters. You take you you consume the meat and spit out the bones with them. You
Yeah.
take what you can. You're like, all right, this is some good stuff. I really like. Crowley was one of the first to really kind of give a good definition of magic that was apart from your Agrippa and Eliphas Levi definitions of like the purest of art type thing. He gave a good definition, causing,
Sure.
change, at a distance and so forth. So, there's a few things that I could take from him, but just him, he's like the poster boy for edgelords when in the occult.
Oh yeah.
Uh, he never reconciled um, uh, with his like Christian turmoil. And I think that might be a big part of it as well. People are disenchanted with Christianity, of course, and rightly so. A lot of trauma within that, and so they see almost two paths, especially when it comes to lodge magic. You got Crowley, who was like, forget all that Christian, bullshit. It's my yeah, you're gonna have some flavors of it in there, but he liked to replace it a lot with Coptic names, and Egyptian gods and goddesses and Greek and so forth. And then you had Golden Dawn on the other side, which is like that was, you know, uh, esoteric Christianity and Christian Kabbalah was kind of like their bread and butter to a certain extent. So when you come at that fork in the road, you're like, oh, I'm not ready to, reconcile with Christianity. So you kind of look towards Crowley because it totally diverge away from, any type of, a Christian egregor that might be, instilled within the Golden Dawn or anything like you don't want to go to the grimoires because there's too much praying involved, too much, Christ stuff, Jesus that, Jesus this. So, Crowley is really that poster boy for the edge lords and that the darker stuff. Like I want to practice magic, but I don't want anything to do with Christianity. So he's
Yeah.
kind of your guy. So I would assume that a lot of people just kind of build a religion out of, not the Thelema religion, like following that, but really make Crowley like this prophet to them. Crowley is like their prophet,
Yeah. He is.
and yeah, so it's when you have that, they've pretty much traded Christianity for Thelema, if you ask me. Sorry to say, anyone who practices Thelema.
Ah,
Not some of them have different views, and some of them aren't as strict, and but yeah, I could see why people just stick to Crowley no matter what they come across within the occult. It's just kind of that their idol, that poster boy to kind of stick to that keeps them on that on the opposite path, on the adversarial path opposing
mhm.
Christianity.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I don't I kind of feel the same way about the new age, how like people just traded in their Christianity for, a more cuddly version within the new age. So I agree there. Um, Before we move on to the next question, Celestial Ebony in my chat asked a really good question that I'd like to get your opinion on. Um, they ask, how do you recommend people protect their mental health within the occult? So I'll let you go first.
So like first of all, you protect your mental health by keeping your ideals and your priorities straight. So, you want to keep your feet on the ground, uh, uh, physically and mentally. mostly mentally, when we're dealing with the occult. And so that means that you make sure your relationships with your loved ones are stable. Of course, there's going to be problems, trials, and tribulations. That's normal, but you want to make sure that your relationships with your loved ones and people that you interact with are stable, or you're able to get them to a stable, condition. You want to make sure that you're able to like hold a job. I think that's a really big one. A lot of people will like probably like roll their eyes at that, but being able to hold a job and being professional in the mundane life, it really helps you keep your feet on the ground because you're interacting with people that are outside of the occult. So you're able to kind of compare and contrast. All right, this is, this type of thinking is a little crazy. This type of thinking is, in the middle, and you learn how to balance that tightrope. So relationships with people, doing your best at remaining financially stable and having a job or career. Um, and then also living you could I don't want to say like don't go out and party and have fun and stuff like that. But if you are in the occult and you find yourself easily tempted by um, the overuse of like whether it be alcohol or
Devices.
in vices and stuff like that, that can also lead you down a road where your mental stability is endangered. Not saying you can't experiment, not saying that you can't party every now and then. I like to have like pretty much a beer every night. I love beer, but you won't find me just getting drunk off my ass,
Right.
and so making sure that you're able to keep those vices in check, and you're able to know when something is going overboard. And so we're talking about relationships, your stability in the mundane world with jobs, and then you're keeping your vices in control and putting your priorities first. A
Yeah.
lot of this is kind of underneath this umbrella of having higher aspirations. And this is like one thing that you'll see in like AA is like they always want you to find some higher power, and it doesn't have to be the Christian God, doesn't have to be a Hindu God or anything like that. It's just having something higher to live for, higher aspirations. And if you have your aspirations set high, then you are able to know when, all right, this vice is kind of getting out of control. I need to pull back. All right,
Yeah.
this relationship with this person is getting out of control. I need to mend this somehow. Okay, I am spending my money way too much on dumb stuff. I need to start saving because your aspirations are in a much of a higher thing. Okay, I need to save money for my family. I need to save money for my bills so I could live better for myself. I need to treat people better so we could have better relationships so there's more love involved.
Yep.
All of these things are conducive to keeping mental stability when you do start getting into the occult. So when you have these higher aspirations, they keep you from falling down into that hole of lust and greed and all those seven deadly sins that you see in Catholicism, and just kind of losing your head. And this, we just saw a video of a different creator. We've been talking. It's been kind of hot right now. Obviously someone who's kind of hit a particular stage of spiritual psychosis with huge ideas of grandeur and things like
Hmm.
that. And a lot of that is you dodge a lot of that through your relationships with people, through work, you know what I mean, and through checking yourself
Yeah.
and staying true to yourself. And the people around you are they're fundamental for that. So just being able to live practically in a mundane world is huge for keeping your mental in check when you get into the occult for sure.
Yeah, man. Awesome advice. I would pretty much echo the same things. I would also say to, remain grounded. And what that means in the aspect of the occult is to not lose sight of your personal relationships. A lot of times when people dive into the occult, um, so first of all, you wouldn't do any of this stuff if you weren't interested in it, right? And usually when you're interested in something, you want to talk about it with other people, and usually that's your friends and the people that are in your immediate vicinity and life. And if they're not interested in it, that's fine. None of my friends are, but they at least still ask me questions and things like that. But you don't want to pull away from your friends and your family and significant others and all anything like that in favor or in pursuit of any sort of spiritual um, uh, evolution or anything like that, because it will devolve you more than it will evolve you. You need to remain firmly grounded for your mental sanity, or else you could end up with a spiritual psychosis and have these delusions of grandeur and mania and all these types of things. But when you have other people, whether they practice or not, around you, then it becomes a lot harder to fall into those kinds of traps. So I would recommend not losing or doing your best to not lose any of your friends or family due to your occult practice or your spiritual practices or anything like that. And now if they leave you because of religious beliefs, that's one thing. But if you start to pull away because you feel as though every time you come around you want to talk about the Goetia or whatever, and your friends don't want to do that, so you start to not hang out with your friends, and the next thing you know, no one's calling you or hitting you up to go out and hang out anywhere. That could put you in a certain state of mind, and you probably want to stay away from that kind of thing. So everything that Quinn said, but also I wouldn't lose sight of the people around you, who can keep you grounded and keep you from falling into this endless pit of spiritual psychosis. So, excellent question, Celestial Ebony. If you're still in here, thank you for that question. Do you have any on your side before we move on to the next topic?
No, pretty much just kind of really corroborating the whole thing of staying balanced, never
Yeah.
never forgetting that you have to live a normal life out there.
Yes.
You know, how would your coworkers how would it do your job if you went into a meeting and started talking about Goetia and stuff like that?
Well, honestly, my boss and everybody, they all know. They all give me advice because I'm in marketing, so they all give me advice for like growing my account and getting more visits to my website. So they kind of already, not the people who sit like around me on the own media team, but my boss, John, the SEO guy, my boss's boss or the VP, they all know, because they know about this, and they ask about every time I get banned and all this other stuff. So it probably would go pretty well for me. I can't speak for everybody else, but for me, it would probably go pretty well.
That's good.
But everyone
And do you
wouldn't
go
have that
do you go
experience.
into the do you go into deeper aspects of the occult with him, or is it just kind of very,
No.
surface stuff?
Yeah, yeah, it's very because they don't know to ask about anything deeper, right? And I'm not just going to
Yeah.
offer anything deeper because like I can't start talking, senior college level stuff when you haven't even gotten out of first grade. So
Mm.
they don't know to ask anything deeper than other than the surface level stuff. So if they did have a deeper question, I would certainly answer. I don't have any issue answering anything like that. But no, it's usually just surface stuff because that's all that they know to ask. Like, are you really talking to spirits? And like, what is a demon? Like those match one type questions that you're like, come on, like you don't know
Yeah.
this by now. But
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I think that's another good point to add to that is like when you are in this and you're out with your friends and they're not really like the witchy type of people or into magic or anything like that. Is say they start talking about like ghosts or something like that, something that is very universally talked about. a little bit more than the occult. And if ghosts were brought up in a conversation with people that I know aren't into the occult, I'm not even going to start to get magical with it. I'm gonna keep it
Hmm.
at that. Oh yeah, ghosts. Do you think ghosts are real? Yeah, I think they're real. And I'm not gonna go any further. And I think the what you don't want to do for sure is, oh, here's an opening for me to start talking about spirits and demons.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you start to draw that fine line between being able to balance, your practical mundane life and your magical life, and then letting it flood over. When you hear like, oh, ghosts, oh, spirits, all right, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Certain
start talking
triggers.
about
Yeah.
this. You trigger it, and then it's like, yeah, we'll keep it, keep it under wraps. If they really ask you, yeah, I believe it's ghosts. Oh, what do you think ghosts are? Oh, then you could probably go into a little bit more. But
Yeah.
I think right there is another point where it's keeping your mental stability and so forth. You've kind of lost that stability if you're not able to refrain from letting those topics trigger you into an outright rant about spirits and ghosts.
No, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about because all my friends know. So all my friends know what I do, and while they're not, they love to ask me questions, especially now, that like conspiracies are so popular and all this other stuff. You can't imagine the type of questions I get from my non-occult friends. But whenever we do talk about like ghosts or demons or even aliens or whatever, they all want to make sure they get my opinion. They're like, so what do you think? And it's like, you guys are having the conversation, you talk, because I know that if I end up talking, then it'll turn into my show, and it won't be a group thing, because then everybody would be so fascinated by the basics of the occult. So
Yeah, totally.
yeah, I know what you mean there. I know what you mean there. Hey, thank you for the gift, Black Sheep for Chan, for Black Sheep Archon, four with an A. Okay. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and move into the second topic here. Um, Topic number two. What should occultists keep secret, and what can we give away freely? So, are there things that we should keep secret, and are there things that we should give away freely? And I think I'll start with this one, since I let you go with the last one. Um, in my opinion, the vast majority of what we have that's available, like readily available in the occult, we are able to freely give away. I've had people come into my live streams and ask me, like, don't you think, pearls before swine, all that stuff? And I'm like, most of this stuff you can just walk into your local Barnes and Noble and it's right there on the shelf. I'm not giving away any sort of initiatic secrets. But when it comes to the initiatic secrets, when it comes to divulging the mysteries, or when it comes to explaining what goes on during an initiation or something along those lines, those things I think should be kept secret, and those things should be left up to each individual practitioner to experience. But how do I scry, or how do I get better at astral projection? I don't think there's any issue with giving that information out. Again, all of that information is like freely available. Well, not freely, but you can get it, without spending too much money, or maybe even free, right now on the internet or at your local mall or bookstore or whatever. But I certainly do think that there are things that one should not freely give away. And this does include things that, for example, might be readily available, but you probably shouldn't be getting that information. So things like, I know, within the ATR and ADR communities, there's an author by the name of Carlos Montenegro, who does not have a really good reputation among the Kimbanda practitioners, because he's going around giving Kimbanda information in his books, for people who do not have licencia, for people who have not received SU into their head. And he's not well liked. So that's an example of information that should be kept secret, should be kept amongst the initiates, but it's being given out for anybody who knows where to go look. I'm not saying his books are available on Amazon, because they're not, but if you know where to get them, you can certainly get them. And that information should probably not be circulating out there. And then people start trying to contact all these Eshus and these Pambagiras, and then their life ends up in hell and they don't know why. So there certainly are things that people should either wait until they're at the appropriate knowledge set to learn, or have to join a certain group or order or whatever in order to learn. But the vast majority of what we would consider occult information is freely, or we can freely give, without any sort of issue. So that's how I would answer that.
Yeah, totally. Usually I think the personal experiences, they're not every single personal experience. There's some that I think, like I've shared a lot of my outer body experiences, on lives and so forth. But then there are some, you know, UPG that like I really keep to myself, because I do know it's personal, and it's a lot of it is contemplated speculation and so forth. So I try to keep, if I talk about it, I will usually say like this is an opinion, but there's a lot of personal things that I keep to myself when it comes to like revelations and so forth. But when it comes to actual like things within the occult, like you said, a lot of the stuff is already out there on the shelves.
Yeah,
It's already on Amazon, and even then, you could have someone who is just a piece of shit, and they want to hurt someone, so they're like, oh, I'm going to go get the key of Solomon the king, and I'm going to work this book of black magic so I could cause some pain in someone's life. When they get that book, are they going to even know how to use it? You know what I mean?
exactly.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that, even though it doesn't seem like a secret because it's out there, it is still a secret because it still takes a particular amount of, philosophical like initiation into it to even work it. I remember like when I was working Golden Dawn, is like uh, they they had a huge like emphasis on keeping things secret, right?
Mhm.
But the funny thing is, if you hand Rigardi's Black Brick to someone, and they open it up, they're not going to even know what the hell it's talking about. They wouldn't even know where to start. So it's like an architect, is like, oh, I don't want to give you my building secrets, and then like I steal his blueprint. I was like, oh, I got your secrets. I'm not an architect. I don't know how to read blueprints, so it's no good to me. So even though it's, the secret is out, it's not out.
Yeah,
Um, it, you can find that like with a lot of different things. It takes a little bit of know-how to reveal the truth behind the secret. So I'm under the whole thing of like, even if people see it, they're not gonna the the lay people aren't going to know what they're looking at in the first place. And another aspect of this topic is, um, I've heard it from people before, talking about, it kind of goes back to that whole discourse of like showing your altar. Oh, now you're taking power away from it, And I had someone say, oh, if you show a spell on on some of your content, then that means that someone out there would see it and won't think that it will work, and then that takes away from the power of that spell. Me personally, I think that's a crock of shit.
yeah,
uh, I don't think if you go by that logic, then everything you see in these books is all just now
e-
defunct because people
exactly.
have seen it. And if they doubt it, then they're putting doubt into it. Now it's crap.
Yeah, I've
So,
shown my altar many times.
yeah, it doesn't matter, and so that's kind of like, how I feel about that aspect of the secrecy conversation. It does not matter to me. There are some things like I don't show like my full-on ancestral altar because I have a picture of a loved one on there, and it's a bit more of like kind of like, this whole thing of like showing someone's house that, hasn't given you permission or something like that.
Right, yeah.
You know, so there are a few things, but they're much more of a practical reason. It's just because it's private, because it's family. You
Yeah.
know, so I keep things private for reasons like that. But other than that, if it's out in the open, the occult is so guarded by its own nature that it doesn't matter if lay people see it and people who doubt it see it because they're not even going to know where to begin or what's going on.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually used that exact same thing in a live stream like a few weeks ago. Someone had asked me, about, the whole pearls before swine thing, and I brought up like even if that were true, they would not know what I'm talking about, right? Like I could lay out the full mysteries and they'd just be like, okay, bro, do a levitation right now. Like, they wouldn't get it. Right. So yeah, I completely agree. Um, I remember when I first got into Rat and I came across the Black Dragon, which is now my favorite grimoire. It's my go-to for any of my demonic evocations, which I don't really do much of that these days. But um, I remember when I first came across it, and I remember being told that there was a secret like hidden within the grimoire, and I was like, I don't know it. This is before I actually worked it, right? I was just reading it and studying it and trying to figure it all out. I was like, I don't know what you mean. And then as I started to actually work with and follow the instructions and evoke the spirits in the order that they're supposed to be evoked in, it started to dawn on me. And then the spirits, of course, confirmed, that they have to be evoked in a certain order. And through that order, you have to get permission going down the hierarchy. Usually you go up the hierarchy, but in this case, you go down the hierarchy. And then once they're all present, something specific is supposed to happen. And now here's where, you're not supposed to say anything. You're not supposed to tell anybody, which I don't. But like when I found that out, I was like, oh, so this is what it means when it's like, some things should be kept secret and some things shouldn't. Because I remember when I went through my initiation into the coven, I was young, so I did not get it at all. When they were like, "Okay, now you can't tell," I was like, "Who? No one cares. Like, no one's going to care if I go, I'm a witch now. I've been initiated. No one. They're not going to care." And while it is true at that time, being 17, I had no clue what it meant to keep the mysteries and to keep silent. It wasn't until I found out about the secret of the Black Dragon that I was like, okay, this is what it means when it's like some things are supposed to be secret and they're supposed to be secret for a reason. This book is freely available for anybody to buy, but unless you actually work it, you're probably not going to understand the secret. And even if you do, you're not going to know what it's used for unless you actually go through it. So that's like a personal example.
Interesting. I gotta look into that one.
Yeah.
Isn't that part of the what that grimoire is what from the like 1700s?
No, I think this is from the 1500s. I don't think there's a date in here, but
Because
actually, I can find out very easily. There's a figure that's mentioned in here, who wrote part two, so I can figure out when he lived. Let's
got
see.
you. Because I think I remember, Arundel Overman, he has a published copy edition of the Black Dragon, and I think I
Yes.
remember him saying something about it being a little bit one of the like last like Renaissanceian grimoires that came out.
Um, So this is actually before any we were both way off. So Pope Leo the Third reigned from 27 of December 795 to June 12th of 816. So this is way before any of the stuff that we were mentioning. So yeah, it's much older than even the 15th century. Um, yeah, yeah, this is back from around. Um, well, at least the second part is
Yeah.
the Enchiridion. The Black Dragon
Yeah.
itself, I think that's still around the 15th century.
But
But
is it attributed to him? Is it one of those things where like, oh, it's attributed to him, like how King Solomon really didn't write the Keys of Solomon, so
yeah, no. The was written by Pope Leo III. He wrote it to Emperor Charlemagne. It was like they had like a correspondence.
got
The first part, the actual Black Dragon, we're not sure who wrote that, but we're quite sure it's a French grimoire. It comes from France. But so then maybe it is the 17th century, because that's when France sort of started becoming popular within the Renaissance for occultism. Um, but we don't know the exact author of the Black Dragon, and there's several different versions going around. Um, there's the Robert Blanchard version from the 80s from the International Guild of Sorcery. There's this version from Michael Chittatelli. There's Arundel Oberman's version. Black Letter Press just came out with another version. So yeah, but we
hmm.
don't know who wrote it, and the book doesn't say who it's actually who it's attributed to or anything like that. So.
Yeah, we all know that you can, even when it says it's attributed to someone like, Heptameron, Peter de Urbano, and the scholars pretty much say it's like, yeah, that's probably not the person who wrote the Heptameron, but there's some
Oh
things
yeah.
that say it could have, but yeah, it gets a little shaky with those things. But yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I've seen it come up a few times. I wonder if it has any connection with the with like the Grimoire Verum and Secrets of Solomon and so forth.
Um, I I'm gonna say so. I don't know because the way that it's laid out is you of course get your authority from God first, but instead of going through God and all His sacred names and then some of the angels and all that and using that authority to call on the demon, you go through God to get the authority to call on the the ranking demons, and then you go through their hierarchy. So rather than calling on the celestial beings, you call on the demonic beings and you get permission to get to the next. So you kind of ask God to give you permission to go to the security guard, and then the security guard says, "Okay, you can go to the first floor." And then you get to the first floor, then you got to say, "Okay, I'm here. Can I go to the second floor?" And then that demon will say, "Sure." Then you go to the second floor, and then so on. Yeah, so yeah. So you got to work down the demonic hierarchy rather than up through the celestial hierarchy. So I don't. I mean, it follows all the same format of all the grimoires, but I don't think it's related. I think the closest thing we can probably relate it to would be the Red Dragon, or the Grand Grimoire, although it doesn't require the sacrifice or anything like that. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, no, I don't think it resembles the Virum or anything. I mean, it has the daily demons, so I mean, I
Mhm.
don't know. I would have to do a comparison.
Right? Yeah, 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 totally. Oh yeah. I'll check it out.
Yeah, man, it's my favorite text. Well, my favorite grimoire.
Mhm.
Um, all right. So we did how important is Crowley and what should occultists keep secret? All right. I don't know which one to, there's two left. I'm not sure which one um we should take here. They're both, in my opinion, interesting. One I think would be more interesting for like a general audience, but for an occult audience, I think one of them would be better. Um, well, let's see if we can do them both. Let's deal with the occult one first. So, is initiation required to practice magic? And how important is initiation in a solitary practice?
Mhm. I think initiation becomes a bit of an ambiguous term, especially in the occult. Um, like I had said earlier, there's like a certain type of initiation you go through personally, when it comes to your own practice, as in when you finally reconfigure your perception of the world and how everything works to the point that magic is real to you and no longer wondered about. You don't have to
Right.
you don't have to believe in magic. You just know magic type of thing,
Yeah.
you know? And there is that point of initiation in that solitary path where you finally break free over, over periods of long-term study and contemplation. So there's that type of initiation. And then of course there's the physical initiation, and whether you're talking about, an ATR or a lodge system, and those of course have their different um, they have their different flavors to them. You know, Initiation in lodge magic has a lot to do with a progression.
Hmm.
You commit particular things to memory in your subconscious, your psyche.
Yep.
You get these philosophical elements within you straight, the whole spiritual alchemy thing going on throughout these grades. Going back to what we were talking about, how to keep your mental straight, that celestial that person asked you earlier. That's all part of the grade system. Is when the first grade, like when you're in Malkut and Golden Dawn, has a lot to do with making sure that your practical life is set and that you can live practically. And then each grade from there addresses different aspects of the psyche and your emotional state and so forth. So when we're talking about the lodge systems like Golden Dawn or OTO, I don't know about OTO because I've never part of that, but for Golden Dawn, a lot of the initiation into the grades has a lot to do with reconfiguring the way you perceive the world and the way that you're able to um, contemplate mystical and occult material and be able to make sense of it, and also the spiritual alchemy aspect of it, to where you are making sure that you're emotionally, mentally, and physically stable and capable of going through the grades and actually performing magic. Then, of course, you have the spirit-based traditions of like ATRs and ADRs, where the initiation has to do with getting approval from not just the spirits of the tradition or your elders, but also your ancestors. So there's that aspect of initiation where it doesn't really have anything to do with, I'm sure there's aspects within those initiations that has to do with making sure you're fit within your physical life, so you don't end up going broke because you just you just put everything into this path. um, I'm sure there's aspects of it like that in those traditions, like the ATRs and ADRs, but what I'm mostly referring to is you're not going any further within a particular tradition unless you get the approval through divination from that tradition's spirits and your
Right.
ancestors and elders and so forth. So there's that type of initiation. So do you need it to practice magic? Not all magic, some forms of magic, yes. Do you need it to practice magic through philosophically? Do you need the initiation? Yes, and you get that through learning, contemplation, research, devotion. That's where you get that your solitary initiation from. So in a sense, yes, you do have to be initiated, but this sense of initiation can look differently depending on how what magical path you are approaching.
Excellent. Well said, brother. Well said. Thank you for that. Yeah, I would kind of agree. How do I want to start this? So I come from in initiatic system. As I just stated a few minutes ago, I went through mine when I was 17. For those of you who are not aware, in most systems of witchcraft, there's 3 degrees of the mysteries, and I only received the first degree because I got it when I was 17, and then I turned 18 and went to college and never went back there. So never had a chance to go any further, at least with that coven, and I didn't like the coven lifestyle, so I decided to do things on my own. But anyway, so I come from a system where it is a requirement, but I think that a lot of modern day groups emphasize initiation to get money out of you because there's a fee usually associated with it, and it's more like just a not a badge of honor, but like just like a badge. Like it really doesn't mean anything because there's nothing really going on. It's more theater than it is magic or ritual. You're not getting in touch with any beings that you were not previously in touch with. You're not coming into the knowledge or the gnosis of anything that you previously didn't know. It's just, okay, you're now allowed inside of our building now, and you can sip tea with us, on Saturdays when we do our full moon ritual or something like that. But you're not really learning anything. You're not moving further. You're not becoming closer to what you feel is God, or what that group thinks is God, or the gods, or whatever. It's more of like a social, theater type of thing. That's what a lot of modern day practices seem to do, right? Whereas initiation is supposed to change you, right? Look at it like I think here in the West, the best example is baptism. I think everyone, whether you're Christian or not, knows about baptism, right? It's supposed to be a public declaration, at least in that case, where the old you has died and the new you is now reborn in Christ. So initiation on an occult aspect could sort of be seen in a very similar light. The old you, the you that what my group back then, and it's so weird now, but what we would call once-borns, people who were only born once, not born twice like we were, people who are only born once, you don't there's nothing spiritually for you to aspire to, is what they would teach. Whereas after you go through your second birth, after you go through whatever degree of initiation you are going through, you are now bought into something different, something new, something other than what you were. And this opens you up to different spirits, to different energies, to different philosophies, and all these things you are supposed to internalize. And when you internalize them, it's supposed to reflect out in your life, right? This is how we know them, by their works, right? We see what they do, and so we know that that person is something along those lines, because it would show in their outer life, right? Whereas you've got people these days just charging a fee, like back when I joined the Temple of Mayor Jira to test out their magic and found out it was all fake and nonsense, and they charged $50 to join. Now you think that's not a lot of money, but you times that by 500 people, every few months that are, that want to join. That's, you could probably live off that. So I feel like most occult groups approach initiation that way, but it's supposed to change you. It's supposed to be, like you were kind of saying earlier, it's supposed to be this internal alchemy, this alchemical change. I guess knowledge and conversation with your HGA could be a good example of a non-traditional sort of initiatic experience, right? Because you are bringing down the angel from the heavens, and you are rising yourself up to meet it, and in the center you guys meet, and there's that alchemical marriage, right? You are changed, you become one with this being, and now you now have access to information, to other beings, to other realms and abilities that you probably never even thought that you would ever even dream of, right? So you have become changed, you have become other, and this is the purpose, the actual purpose of what in initiatic experience should come with, right? It's not just I'm part of this club now. No one cares that you're part of the club. What matters is the information that you're gaining, the spirits that you have access to, the knowledge that you're learning, how you internalize that and apply it out into the world. So yeah, that's how I would say.
Oh yeah, yeah. It for sure changes you. I know that every single person that I knew in the Golden Dawn Temple, we went through some type of situation during after our neophyte initiation. One person lost her apartment. Another person had, lost a job. It's usually things that aren't the greatest.
Yeah, yeah,
Me,
yeah. I went through
I
it.
had not long after I had a car wreck. I wrecked a car, and it's just one of those things where it changes you, and it's like it's kind of like putting you at a particular type of rock bottom to help you. It's kind of stripping you away of something. It's putting you in a situation where you kind of have to strip away layers and then
Yeah,
rebuild. And that's exactly what initiation is in the lodge systems for sure, and I'm sure in a lot of other traditions. But yeah, it changes you. It breaks you down and changes you up again. I mean, you see it
oh yeah,
even in you see even in, I don't know anything about Freemasonry, but I do know there's a symbolic death and rebirth
hmm
in the initiation. And it's the same thing. I never got to the 5th, 6th grade in Golden Dawn because of COVID and other shit. But I know that there is a whole thing with the legend of Christian Rosencreutz, and you be laying in the coffin and so forth, and going into the vault of the vault of adepts and so forth. So that there's this whole thing of death and rebirth. So yeah, and it changes you, and you will know it changes you, especially
yeah,
when you go through that initiation. And there are like a reason why I never went into OTOs is because the crazy amount that I would have to pay for initiation, and it's not really a magic. It's not really a magically focused type of lodge. A lot of it has to do
right.
with mysticism and the whole thing of Thelema. When I was like, all right, Golden Dawn, yeah, most of it has to do with learning your fundamentals and basics
hmm
in magic. So you learn the correspondences, you learn your different types of zodiacal signs, mutable and cherubic and so forth. You learn all of these different things that help you out later. You learn your Hebrew alphabet, that you learn what each letter represents and so forth. So it helped me out a lot. It was building those fundamentals. But at the same time, we were only doing $11 a month, and that was to help pay for renting the space.
Right. Yeah.
So if for anyone out there who doesn't know if they want to join one, you want to look into that. Like, what are they using the
Yeah.
money for? They need to
100%.
be very transparent with what they're using the money for. Usually it's for initiation ceremonies. There's wine that is needed for some of them for sacraments. There's certain materials that you got to buy and you got to re-up on. They might buy sashes for you. They might provide a lot of different things for their members. That's why people are paying dues. But then at the same time, does it match what you want? Are you ready to put in that financial commitment for what they offer and so forth? That's all your prerogative.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. Um, Silosai is asking, has anyone seen The Dark Song? Is that the movie with that girl? She goes out and to England or something like that. She goes into the house with Joseph Solomon or Solomon Joseph or something like that, and they do and he teaches her to do the Abramelin ritual. Is that? Because if so, I've seen that movie. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. I saw that movie like I think twice or three times. Of course, it's not at all does not model the Abramelin ritual, but
Oh, of
it's
course
a
not.
fun, yeah. The Abramelin
But
ritual
it's a
the actual ritual in the form of a movie would be very boring.
Yeah,
Um,
that was exactly what I said the last time someone asked me that. It would be super, super boring to watch someone do a
yeah,
ritual.
but it's a
But
fun movie though. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cool.
yeah,
Um,
it was cool. And when the angel finally appeared, I was like, I wish they would appear to me like that. That'd be giant angel in your room, like kneeling down, looking at it, be like, holy shit, bro. Where have you been?
Yeah, I had a buddy that was in the same temple as me, and he related to that point in the movie, not because he's like that's not something you see, like this huge angel and like with light in front of you, but he said I related to the type of emotions that she felt when she finally saw the her guardian angel, those types of emotions, those it's very emotional.
Oh
They
yeah.
said so, they thought that was pretty spot on with the way she reacted to it. But of course, yeah, the this big old thing in your room that's like those are the cinematics that when you're getting into evocation and stuff like it's that's not going to happen. If it has happened, it's very rare. But you just you don't expect anything like that for sure.
Not at all, man. Not at all. All right. So since we got done the three pretty quickly, I guess we can, instead of saving it for next week, we can move on to the fourth one here. If you're cool with that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So the fourth one is something that someone had asked me a few months ago, and I gave them an answer that I myself didn't like. But is there a connection between UFO sightings and the occult? And some slight background, some pseudo background here, I guess. Where this question would arise from is, Crowley had his lamb, not his lamb like his baby goat, but LAM lamb, the thing he saw when he was
Yeah.
in Egypt, the thing he claimed to have seen. There's Alan H. Greenfield's Secret Cipher of the UFO Knots. There is Jack Parsons and his was it called The Working in the Desert or something like that, where him and a few other people were out there. They did some occult ritual, and afterwards, not him, but the people who were there with him, they reported seeing lights in the sky, men in black following him, like men in black suits following him around, and dark black cars and everything like that, taking pictures of him and all sort of nonsense. And there was one more that I can't remember at the moment. I'm sure it'll come to me in like 5 minutes. But yeah, so all of these different occultists supposedly either they themselves, like Crowley, got in direct contact with an alien being, although Crowley wouldn't have said it. He didn't say it was that. But what he drew looks like what we would call a gray alien, if you believe in that. And the others, they didn't encounter the aliens themselves, but what happened adjacent to their ritual was alien phenomena. So, how do you feel about the occult and UFOs? Or is there any sort of connection in your mind between UFOs and the occult?
Well, I
The
think
Babylon
the
working. Thank you. Thank you, Silasai.
I think the mediums through which we channel a lot of the forces in magic are they're the same mechanics that I mean that they're within the universe. You know what I mean?
Right.
You can't escape them. So I highly doubt that when it comes to not just extraterrestrials and aliens out there in space, or whether they're in the Earth or outside of the Earth, or interdimensional beings, I highly doubt that they are ignorant to the subtle mechanics of the universe as what we see as magic. So I think
Hmm.
they've probably I would assume that they have been able to harness these powers and know how to use them.
Yeah.
Uh, there's a lot of different accounts of people like scrying and seeing particular beings of light and so forth, and meditation coming across different beings. So I think there can be a connection. I don't think there's always a connection.
Okay.
Depends on how you're looking at it. If you come in contact with a spirit and they are by nature interdimensional, then yeah, then I guess they are alien to our plane.
Sure.
Um, so technically that counts. But as in, being in contact with actual physical beings that live light years and light years and light years away, but are able to contact us through their technology. Um, Not all the time. I don't think every piece of magic we do has anything to do with them all the time, but particular techniques. If you're doing like astral projection, like hardcore astral projection or meditation, um, then yeah, I think there's a good chance that you might come in contact, or say like you have a scryer or something like that. They might come in contact with something that is beyond this realm, or not just beyond this realm, but like light years and light years away. But the type of technology at in their grasp, they're able to connect with us through the psyche or subconsciously or so forth, because they just
Okay.
know how to, because they have those powers, down pat. So, does occult magic have to do with aliens? I don't think all the time. It depends on what you're doing, I believe, and what kind of communication you're trying to work. What the mode of communication and interaction. Um, you know, Depends on the interface. Um, so you could get pretty technical with it and say that any type of being that you interact with in magic is an alien because they're not of this plane. But then, what about the physical aliens that, like the Greys and stuff? I don't know. I wouldn't be able to, put any proof on that.
Yeah.
To say that, Lamb was actually an alien that Crowley communicated with, that's pretty much taking his word for it, you know.
Hmm.
And you know how problematic that can be in the occult, taking anyone's word for it without any real verification. So, that's a person in their personal path. But yeah, aliens in the occult sometimes, not all the time. Depends on what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I would echo a lot of that. For me though, I think so aliens and the occult, we presuppose that that means that not only do aliens exist, but that they are in contact with us humans. And while I do think aliens exist, I do not think that with the universe being as big as it is, and that bigness is getting bigger somehow, and there's, probably billions of planets. What makes Earth so special, right? So I don't think that there's any aliens here. And if they are here, they're not talking to Jimbo up the street. No matter how powerful of a magician Jimbo thinks he is, unless you've got money or power or some reason for the aliens to talk to you, I don't think that they would. So that means they're not just going to show up during your ritual. Um, I, I, yeah, I'm trying to fathom a scenario where I think that would be feasible, and I don't think that would be feasible. I think that if aliens do exist, they would be more scientific than spiritual or magical or anything like that. Um, and also, I need more than just four examples of people who, you know, were from different times and stuff like that that had the experience for me to believe it, right? If the vast majority of occultists out there were also, after they get done their rituals, then they all saw strange lights in the sky and were getting followed home by men in Chevy Tahoes or something like that, snapping pictures. Maybe then there would be something to it. But four people from different the world, different times and stuff like that. I don't think that's, I think that's more of a coincidence than anything else. If aliens are a thing and they were present during Jack Parsons, Babylon working, it just happened to be a coincidence that he and his group finished the ritual and then the aliens landed or flew up in this or whatever they did, whatever. Um, for Crowley's Lamb, I think that's we know that spirits have the ability to shapeshift. The grimoires, if you go with that, are very explicit that you can ask the spirit to appear in a more comely or more handsome shape if they appear grotesque. So we know that they can shapeshift. So maybe whatever Crowley got in touch with, um, that is what it decided to present it itself as to him, so that way he wouldn't freak out, or he wouldn't, ask it to appear in some other shape or something like that. That was the most handsome shape it could come in, or that's just the shape it chose. I don't know. I need more than just 4 people to have an experience like that. For more than 4 random people, I would need like reputable magicians or occultists to say, yes, when I went out in the woods, I did my ritual and the lights was in the sky, or I heard the chupacabra come, or something crazy like that. But we don't. We actually don't ever hear about it in a modern context. So I'm a little skeptical of the alien UFO connection. I don't think that there's any sort of connection there. And by alien, I mean like spaceship, take me to your later, type alien, not like, oh, they're just from another, realm. I mean,
Yeah,
actual like,
there has to be that discernment between, because technically
yeah,
alien can mean a lot of different things. But yeah, if you're
right,
talking
yeah,
about gray aliens and in a spaceship, that's for
yeah,
sure.
Arcturians and all that nonsense.
Yeah, that'd be a little hard to, speculate on. I mean, not hard at all, but, to give any type of like hardcore proof for that, it's non-existent. I will play the devil's advocate and saying that, how you're saying, what would these aliens so far advanced care about us for? You know what I mean?
Mm,
Um, so to touch on that, that is assuming that they are within this state of mind to where they are still thinking as in human terms, as in, if you don't have anything to offer me, I don't want anything to do with you. So
yeah.
there's also, we could speculate that there is a particular point in a spirit, in a life form's evolution spiritually, that is no longer a standard to them. That is no
Mm,
longer something like for instance, the ascended masters that the Golden Dawn talks about. That right there is like, yeah, I don't know, if they're probably just making that up. I don't know, but their whole concept was like that they watch over the whole human race type thing, because they're
right.
so beyond our earthly like desires
Sure.
and motivations, that they actually think about the whole universe as a whole, and they do care. But again, that is just speculation.
Yeah.
That is just theorizing. That's just putting a thought out there. So either one could be true at the same time. There are
Yeah.
probably ascended beings that are so evolved that they are now just energy, and they actually do look out for the betterment of all life forms in the universe. And then there's probably those draconian life forms that are like, nope, we just want resources. If you don't have anything to offer, we don't care.
Yeah.
So it could go both ways.
Yeah, Silicy is piggybacking off of this. He says, or they say, cryptids are probably also interdimensional. Um, so I don't like cryptids either, not from an occult, esoteric, mystical perspective. So the problem with cryptids is when we really do research on them, we find that most, if not almost all of these cryptids are localized, right? And if they're interdimensional, locality seems a bit unnecessary, right? So a good example is like dragons, right? There's never been a dragon sighting in mythology in the US, right? Or Europe. That's an Asian thing, right? Dragons are in Asia. They don't come over here for some reason, right? We don't hear about banshees over here. That's a Northern European thing. Women who died from, being angry at their ex-husbands or something crazy, or marriage or whatever, something crazy like that, they start screaming for some reason and become a spirit. We don't hear about that over here. That's a Northern European thing. No one in China is talking about skinwalkers. That's a Native American thing, right? There's no Alabama white fang in Australia. That's an Alabama thing, right? There's no chupacabra in Nigeria. That's a Southern American farmer type of a thing. So if these cryptids are interdimensional, that we should have dragons over here. They should have chupacabras over there. We should have thick loches from Africa over here, but we don't. These beings are highly localized if they exist. So so you can travel the dimensions, but you can't come across the Atlantic Ocean. Like I don't. That to me doesn't make any sense. So I don't like cryptids as interdimensional for that reason. I don't believe in them at all. I think that they're just local folklore that people use to scare kids or just to tell stories around the campfire. Like I used to, when I was younger, I used to go out in the woods looking to get abducted or looking to someone, please, missing 411 me or something. And I've never had a paranormal experience. Any sort of other experience I've always had when I'm in the woods is when I'm doing ritual. If I'm just out in the woods and it's nighttime, yeah, it's creepy and it's spooky and all that because it's nighttime in the woods. But I've never seen strange lights, or I've never heard someone call my name, or I've never heard, someone say, help me. And then I go over to it. It's a skinwalker or something. I've never had any of those types of experiences. And I keep seeing people on this app, like, if you're in the woods and you hear your name, no, you didn't. Well, no, I didn't, because I've never heard my name in the woods. Like, I'm looking for these things. Take me. I'm here. Abduct me. I'm alone. No tracker, no dog, no gun. It's just me. And they're like, nah, we don't want that guy. Like, he wants to get taken. We don't want him. It's like, what? So, yeah, I don't know. I can't. I don't know. Cryptids to me are.
Have you ever visited the
Sorry, go ahead.
Appalachian Mountains?
No, but I would love to.
Yeah,
I would love to.
because that's that's a known hot spot for a lot of weird stuff. Because what the Appalachians are like, they're like prehistoric, right? I think
Yeah.
they're part of a particular mountain range that broke off from like the Scotland landmass or something like that. Don't quote me on that. I
Oh,
might
wow. I
be.
didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah, the Appalachian Mountains are like supposedly like old as fuck. So uh, since you're on the East Coast, go ahead and go in
Yeah.
the middle of the Appalachian Trail and see if you could come across anything.
I have been to the Pine Barrens where the Jersey Devil's supposed to be. And while I didn't have a paranormal experience there, I did meet a serial killer. I met Andrew Cunanan, the guy who killed Gianni Versace and a bunch of other people. But Versace is the most famous person that he killed. He killed like 7 people. And then he killed himself. So they say, I think the police got him, but they say he killed himself. I got to meet him when I was up there. But other than that, I didn't have any like paranormal or supernatural experiences when I was in the woods. But yeah, I would love to go to the Appalachian Mountains or whatever, and try to have me authentic, like without any occultism, just I'm just walking in the woods, la la la, and then all of a sudden it happens. Like I would love for something like that to happen, because it's never it's I've always had to initiate any kind of supernatural, paranormal, whatever kind of experience. I always had to bring it on through ritual. I've never just been walking around and I get
Right.
abducted, or I'm in a new place, or something. I don't know. So
Yeah. I'm totally different. Like, this is why these discussions are good, because I actually believe that there are cryptids out there,
mhm.
for the fact that it's impossible for us to know every single life form that exists
Sure.
on this planet. Um, that doesn't mean that I see something of Loch Ness, I'm like, oh yeah, that's a Loch Ness. If I
Right,
see a
right.
Bigfoot video, I'm like, oh yeah, that's Bigfoot. I'm still very like skeptical on a lot of stuff, but at the same time, it's like I can't say that there's not anything crazy out there,
Sure.
that likes to stay in the dark, that likes to stay in cave systems, likes to stay, buried or something like that. It's very highly likely that there is. But when it comes to the cryptid, the popular cryptid, stuff, the pop culture that surrounds it, I tend to be turned off by that and be like, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, that's a creepy video that doesn't look like anyone wearing a costume, but at the same time, it's video. I can't, I have no evidence that that wasn't perpetrated by someone. I have no evidence that it wasn't an actor or something. Even though it seems like there isn't, I can't say definitely that it is a true capture of Bigfoot walking through the mountains.
Yeah, and why is it always 6 miles that way? Like it's someone standing 6 miles away and they're on a toaster camera from 2002, and that's what they like. All these national parks, all these hunting areas, a lot of them have trail cams, right? In case you get lost or if you shoot something and you can't find it right away, come back later, blah blah blah. There's trail cams, and yet we never get a Bigfoot walking in front of a trail cam or a chupacabra just walking around and he finds a squirrel and he eats it or something like that. Anytime we see something on a trail cam, it's like a split second. It's like it runs by really fast. It's like, come on, bro. Out of the millions of trail cams, there's not one still image of a Bigfoot looking at the camera or a chupacabra like walking. And I see it all the time with like animals. I see a bear walking and he looks back, not at the camera, but looks in the direction of the camera, or a jaguar or something. All those animals do it, but not the Bigfoots, not the chupacabras. They're all looking straight ahead, dead ahead, never turn their head, never turn around, never. It's just, or they're going really, really fast. They right on by. And it's like, bro, come on. Somebody somewhere has to have a authentically legitimate image. And nope, it's always from the back. And he's 6 miles down the mountain that way. And I was scared. So I pulled out my Motorola Razr phone and took a picture. Like, okay. So I don't know. Maybe if
If they were actual like real like if they've really captured these images of these creatures and it's not fake, then that would imply that these creatures were they knew like what to stay away from. They were smart enough to keep distance and so forth. They could probably say, "Hey, hell, what if a Bigfoot could smell humans miles away?" So they're like, "Yep, I'm not going that way," because they're just always trying
yeah,
to film me.
yeah.
You know.
I
So
mean, just come out and say we're here. What's up? I don't know. Just be like, hey, I'm a Bigfoot. Stay out of this area. I don't know. I don't know. I feel like more people get off on the mystery of it than actually wanting the truth. I think most of these people who are into cryptids and ghost hunting and all this other stuff, I think most of them don't want to know the truth, because they get off on the mystery, on the what if, right? They don't, which is why when you watch all these shows on YouTube or even traditional TV or whatever, all these ghost hunting shows, there's never a resolution, right? They're always just trying to find out if a ghost is there. They never want to get rid of the ghost. They never want to, clear the house of the entity. They just want to know if it's there and then they move on. It's like, so you don't care about solving the actual problem. You just want it. So I feel like most people don't actually want to know if it's real. They just get off on maybe, and they get off on these types of conversations, where it's just like, what if, and it's like, well, I don't care about what if, I care about what is. I want to know what is, because even if these things were real, it wouldn't change our lives. You and I are the worst that'll happen is that the forest service, the National Forest Service will come out and say, okay, now that you guys know that Bigfoot is real or Chupacabra is real or whatever, they live deep in the woods, so these areas are, you can't go here. So they'll block it off, or there'll be signs saying, be careful, Bigfoot, area or whatever, how they do for bears and mountain lions or whatever. They'll put up signs saying, okay, if you go out here and you get beat up or eaten or something like that, oh, well, like there's a sign right here. That's what'll happen, right? The only people whose lives will change will be the daring YouTubers who, go out there to like film it and they put themselves in danger for clout, or the actual like National Geographic or the Discovery Channel. Like those people will make some money and their lives will change. But you and I are, or most people here who's watching, our lives aren't going to change if Bigfoot is real or whatever. And I think a lot of people know that, and that's why they don't really want to know if it's real. They just love getting off on the mystery. So
Yeah, yeah, I like the taking the agnostic position. Like, I have no proof that they exist, and I have no proof that they don't exist. So,
Yeah.
either way it goes, it's, it is what it is. It's cool. It's fun.
Oh
It's
yeah, it's definitely
amusing.
fun to think about.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go down the rabbit hole and say, oh, this is real, because I don't have any real proof for it personally. So I don't have the liberty to do that.
Look, I'm gonna start a group. We're gonna go to these Appalachian Mountains. We're gonna go to all these different places, and we're gonna test out these cryptid theories. Right, wherever the chupacabra hits most, we're gonna go there. Wherever the a Jersey Devil hits most, we're gonna go there, and we're gonna find out for real. We're gonna go in the woods by ourselves at night, night goggles on, and we're gonna try to see if we can find something
Yeah.
because
Johnny Demonic says, yeah, they don't affect you until they start taking our jobs.
a Bigfoot is that would be a funny sight. A Bigfoot taking a job. That actually kind of reminds me. Does anybody remember? And it's okay if no one does because it was only on the air for like 3 episodes. But the Geico was it Geico? The cavemen. So easy a
Yeah,
caveman could do it.
yeah.
They had a
Uh-huh.
TV show. They had a TV show for like 2 or 3 episodes. No one cared because it wasn't funny at all. It was not funny. Um, but they had like a little TV show where they had like they were cavemen, but they had like corporate jobs, and it was supposed to be funny, but it was not. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was. But that kind of reminds me of that. I can't. I'm Appalachian. They'll take me. I wish they would take me. I've been trying to get taken, and no one takes me. But then again, if we go with what David Politis said in his Missing 411 books and podcasts and videos that he does, of all the people that have been taken in these types of situations, there's only been ever one black person, and he had a super high IQ of like 7 billion. So that's why they took him. They wouldn't. I'm out here like, please take him. They're like, nah, you're stupid. You've got no IQ, so we're not coming after you. But
That's funny.
my life would change. I would stop going into the forest. I wouldn't. I'd be right out there. Like, why? What's up with you guys? Why are you hiding out here in the woods? You're dirty. You stink. You don't got no teeth, no toothbrush. Like, what's up out here? You don't got no deodorant on. Your pits stink. Why are you out here? And I would try to figure it out. So I almost got murdered by Andrew Cunanan. Maybe actually because my aunt lives and still does to this day, lives right across the street from Fort, like literally right, like if you were standing on her side of the street and you literally jump across the street, if you make it from one side to the other, and it's only a two-way street, so if you make it to the other side, you're literally on Fort Mott State Park property. So she lives right across the street, and uh and of course the Pine Barrens are like up a little further. But anyway, she was opening up this shop. I was staying with me and my little brother were staying with her because my parents were away on their anniversary. So me and my brother, my sister wasn't around at the time. We were staying with my aunt, and she took me and she left Marcus at the house with our cousins, and she took me across the street with her to go open up the park. And we went to the because she was the manager or whatever, the park manager or whatever. We went to the main office, and there was a theater in there, and I was like, I want to watch the Jersey. I was like 10. I was like, I want to watch the Jersey Devil movie, and she was like, okay, let me open up first because we're going to have people come in, and then I'll set up the movie for you. So I'm sitting there, like sitting in the reception area, like on a bench, just like waiting because there was no cell phones back then. So I'm just waiting, all mad because she had to do business, and I wanted to watch a movie. So this guy comes in, and I didn't know it was him at the time, but it was Andrew Cunanan, and I'm not paying attention because I'm mad that I want to watch this movie, and I don't care who this man is. He comes in, he was nice from what I remember, but then again, I guess all sociopaths or whatever are. He was very, very nice. Hey, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. I'm just passing through. How do I get? And he asked how to get somewhere. And she was like, oh, yeah, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember her telling him where she lived. She was like, yeah, see the house look out the door. See the house right there? That's where I'm staying, right there at the house. I'm like, why are you telling this man where you live? But again, I didn't care. So he was like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. And then he left, and that was all we saw of him until the next week when we got the news that the caretaker at the graveyard for Fort Mont State Park, he didn't show up that night. But I didn't know that because I'm 10 years old and I don't work there. But my aunt didn't say anything about it until the next week when he was on the news because he was dead. He was found murdered in his truck at the cemetery gates that was behind Fort Mont State Park for the veterans. He was dead like in his truck. And that was from Cunanan, who stole the other truck that was there. That was like one of the park trucks, and he took that blue truck and he drove it all the way down to Florida, and then he did what he did to Versace, and then he killed himself. So by my aunt telling him where she lived, if like me and her and everyone in the house could have been the caretaker because he killed the caretaker, but then he dipped. That could have been us if she, but for some reason he didn't do anything. I guess because there was a house full of people. If it was just me and her, a 10-year-old and an old lady, he probably would have came in and probably killed us. But there was a whole house full of people. There was like 12 of us in the house. But yeah, he went and he killed the caretaker, that old white man with the beard, right in his truck, and took the other truck and continued his murder spree. So maybe I did almost get murdered. I don't know. But it was from what I remember, he was a nice, but then I wasn't paying attention. I was mad. But from what I can remember, he was nice, talked to her, not me, but he talked to her and was kind of nice and cordial. It was just weird that she put up where we lived or where she lived. So dying in a cemetery, that's a dark joke. Well, it was out from what I remember. I obviously wasn't there. From what I remember, he was outside the cemetery. I guess he was going in to like do his nightly whatever he does. But yeah, they got him right outside the cemetery. So that sucks. But I'm still glad that I'm here. I know it sucks that someone else died, but I'm still here. So
Right.
But yeah. So I think that is the last of the questions, guys. Do you have anything on your end, Quinn? Any questions in your chat or anything?
No. Just one very, general question of how to get into magic. Those you always have those
Oh
questions.
yeah.
Um, I don't want to go too far into that, but what I always tell people is just start reading into books. Go onto Amazon, look up occult books, and just start reading, because that is when you get your feet wet, and that's how you figure out what you're into, what calls to you, and then just keep on researching, keep on learning and studying, and that is the best way to do it. And then when it comes time and you have enough fundamental knowledge to actually start practicing, don't doubt yourself. Just do it. People stay in the armchair because they're afraid they don't know enough. But it's just one of those things, like especially with like grimoire tradition, there's so many things. Well, I don't know. I don't want to, do the wrong thing, or I don't know. You just got to do it. You just got to
Yeah.
step into the circle and you just got to go for it. And then that's how you figure out if something you did was wrong or not. And believe me, if you did it wrong, most likely nothing's going to happen and you're not going to get any results rather than you get possessed by Beelzebub.
Yeah. On my end, I'll make it really easy. I have a video, well, two videos actually. One on my TikTok and one on my YouTube. The TikTok one is obviously a lot more digestible. It's only a few minutes. I have a video on my TikTok literally titled "Getting Started with Occultism." All of my recent videos all have the titles on the screen, so it should be easy to find if you just scroll down a bit. It's called "Getting Started with Occultism," and it's my preferred template, the 5 steps that I believe that every beginner should take if you want to get involved within the occult. It is what I consider non-denominational, so it's there's no I'm not trying to lean you into the grimoire, tradition path, or lean you into the shamanic path, or the chaos path, or the tradwitch path. It's very open for anybody from any sort of direction to take it and build on it with what you will. So it's great for anybody who's wanting to get started with magic, but you don't know where to start. So check out that video. And then I have a 2-hour long video on my YouTube with the exact same thing, but instead of, doing it in a quick 2 minutes, I take 2 hours and I flesh out all 5 steps. So check that out if you are interested in getting started with occultism and magic. And yeah, if you're not able to find a group that can teach you physically, then yeah, your only resources is going to be books. I mean, you do have social media and stuff like that, but you should probably learn from books if you don't have anybody to physically teach you. So that's what I would say to that question. And let me see here. I don't think if you summon a demon, it technically worked. Trap, he appeared in my dreams, archive.org, and the YouTube channel. Got it. Yep, you're welcome. Genesis Library. Okay, yeah, so I don't think I have any questions on my end. So yeah, brother, unless you got anything else, I think we can go ahead and end it.
Yeah, let's go. Let's go and wrap it up. Yeah, good talk. Got through like four different
4.
topics. Good time. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there were two from the audience, so that was good. Yeah, being a woman makes finding a group sort of risky. Oh yeah. If you're a woman, most occult groups, unless you find witchcraft groups like traditional witchcraft groups, most groups in the occult are going to be male dominated, unfortunately. So yeah, I can definitely see how as a woman you probably wouldn't want to, at least not with some direction or something like that. You wouldn't probably want to join up any sort of group. So. I don't know your pain because I'm not a female, but I would like to think I can imagine what you're probably having to deal with. And I'm sorry about that. But not every group is like that. Hopefully you do find a group that, doesn't sexualize you at every turn. Yeah. But all right. Thank you all for being here. This was an excellent live stream. We got through some great topics this evening. It's always good to bounce things off you, Quinn. Thank you for being here and doing this with me every week, brother. If you guys are interested in occultism, especially from a traditional magical perspective, go give Quinn or Man of Badim a follow as a font of knowledge on that sort of thing. And also like and subscribe to my channel here, my YouTube. And also I have a Twitch. I don't really use it, but I do have a Twitch. I'm the Mystical Rebel on all of them. So it should be really easy to find me. Yeah. Anything from you, Quinn? Last words?
No. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone that joined. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on my Instagram, man_of_Madim. And of course here on TikTok, I'm always very approachable. Other than that, no, it was a great conversation as always.
Yes, sir.
I think we should be good for next Tuesday. I'm still
cool.
in the middle, in between jobs at that point. So yeah, let's look forward to that.
Okay. Yeah, man. Oh, also one more thing, guys. Follow or not follow, join the Discord. Both myself and Quinn are a part of the Discord. We're pretty responsive. Of course, jobs and life and things like that, but we are as responsive as we can be. It's a great community. Lots and lots of people in there. Conversations going all the time. If you click on the clickable link in my bio, and then that'll take you to my stand page. At the top of the stand page is all my social medias, and the Discord is in there. So click on the clickable link that's in my bio, and then when you're at my stand, my Discord is there. So use that, and you can join the Discord. Otherwise, it's just called the Mystics Conclave. So if you can search for it, it's called the Mystics Conclave. But yeah, so that's it, guys. Thank you all for being here. Thank you, Quinn. Appreciate your time, brother. And good luck with the job search, man, and enjoy your night. And everybody else, enjoy your night. As always, seek the mysteries. Peace.